Welcome to the G-Force Pro-Am for StarCraft 2.
I'm H to the Husky Husky. Joining me is Day 9.
And wow, that's actually a hell of a vibrato, Husky. I can't do that. My voice just cracks like a fellow.
I actually don't know what that word means, but we are going to be having Zinix Core spawning down in the bottom right side as the blue Protoss. And I want to apologize. His name is Korshawn. The last time we cast him, I was calling him Zinix, which is not a medicine or anything. So that's going to be him in the bottom right side. And in the top right side is going to be Socke.
Well, I just like to note, I want to say my voice cracks like a fellow who's having a big change in his life.
Right.
You just cut me off. You're like, I don't know what you're talking about, Day 9. And I'm like, uh-oh. But that's fine. This is true. In the top right, we have, I would honestly say, one of the most consistent and solid Protosses in StarCraft 2 history, alternate attacks Socke. So regularly in tournaments, he is on the verge of elimination. There's been so many events where he starts off in his group 0-2, but then wins all the subsequent games 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, to go 3-2 in his group and advance on to the playoffs. He is alternate attack Socke, who is just so solid, is actually currently undefeated in his group right now.
And in this tournament, we haven't seen too many Protoss versus Protoss. We'll see exactly how this one is going to turn out. So far, everything is lining up. The gas timing is just about a second earlier for Core. Not a huge deal, though, as, I mean, really, it's not going to matter considering how far apart they are spawning. They are going to be scouting the incorrect way for both of them, so no one's going to get the lucky coin flip and scout each other before the other one. And, Sean, what do you expect to see, I mean, in this matchup with the Cybernetics Core change, which I know was years ago, but it has changed. It has changed the overall way that people look at this matchup a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 160 seconds now on the Cybernetics Core for the Warp Gate instead of the old 140, which means that the 4 Warp Gate has been weakened a little bit, but most everything else has stayed the same. That said, 4 Warp Gates is still a very strong strategy. Blizzard's going to try to rip it away from the play pool. So there's a lot of interesting games that go on at the start of when do I see his structures going down. For instance, right now we see Zinix Core planting 2 early gateways. This will delay an overall 4 warp gate, but gives him 3 stalkers early so he can push back probes trying to build nearby the base. Socke building a first zealot, this would likely indicate that he is going for warp gate and wants to put a lot of pressure on early and try to plant a forward pylon. Most importantly, though, you have to count the gas timings, and it looks like, I mean, these players might actually not try to run into each other's bases because stalkers are nearing completion.
And one nice thing about getting the Zealot there early is that really in this matchup, Zealots are extremely effective for the majority of the game, so it's not going to be a wasted unit that's kited away or anything like that. It does delay any other buildings just a little bit because it does cost that 100 minerals, and a lot of players are doing that. And Sean, you mentioned the 3 Stalkers. That's exactly what we're looking at right now, and you put an emphasis on being able to deny pylons. It also allows you to deny scouting and things like that, and right now it does look like Socke just getting tiny bit supply block. He does have that pylon just now finishing to begin production, and it looks like he's going to be dropping 2 of his own gateways. And I believe, does Core have 4 gateways now, or is it just still 3?
It is 4 gateways, but Zinix Core is having a slight delay on his overall warp gate production, just due to the fact that he went for that very early second gateway. The one thing I'm a little worried about, though, is that if we go to the unit counting station, we see 21 probes for Socke. This almost always indicates a defensive mindset at the start of the game, because 20 is when you usually halt a 4 warp gate. So Socke is doing a defensive 4 warp gate play and is going to try to get ahead in economy, but oh no, he cannot lose this Stalker. He needs to pull back. He needs to try not to take any sort of hull damage. He's taken a little bit. That could be enough, but if we go to the unit station, we do see it's 3 Stalkers versus 1 Zealot, 2 Stalkers, and Socke desperately needs to not miss a single pylon.
Yeah, especially since looking at the units tab is going to be so crucial. I mean, both players decided to go for the 4 gate, and so that means that every single unit is vital. Zealots can prove to be extremely useful here. They do take a lot of shots from the Stalkers, but right now Socke is going to be going up against that, and yeah, there is an idle pro there. The angle was perfect for Core right there. Once again, able to do some hull damage to one of those Stalkers, so while the units tab may show an even amount of units, you got to remember that there's about a Stalker worth of damage taken on 2 of those Stalkers. So again, though, in a 4-gate situation like this, Sean, it's going to come down to that micro. We've heard it time and time again, but it cannot be more true right now.
And we see both players being very responsible about spending all that chrono boost. Both players just now getting past that 25 energy mark, and we see Core doing a very smart play, adding on a lot more Zealots. This is going to allow him to break through the front. We see more Chrono Boost by Socke. Keep in mind, though, Socke does still have that 2-probe lead, and it looks like here's the push forward. Socke has an amazing angle, but that is a lot of Zealots on the field right now, and Socke does not manage to pick off one of the Stalkers, and it looks like a total bust-in by Core. We see more Zealots trying to get morphed in by Socke. We see that the Stalker count is actually superior for Core. Nope, now it has just been equalized once again, and we see more Zealots from Core sprinting forward. The Zealot count from Core letting him break down the front.
Able to take a little additional, or deal a little additional damage here by Socke, but the units tab shows a slight advantage to Core right now, so he's going to be in a wonderful spot, especially since it's a mirror matchup, and especially in PvP. Just getting a couple additional units can really pay off here. He's trying to take out these Zealots, but there are so many Zealots for Core right now. Is Socke going to be able to get enough Stalkers? He does have a 1 Stalker advantage, and that is something that can be extremely effective at picking off the Zealots, but he could potentially lose his Stalkers right here. The Zealots able to hack away there, 1 reinforcing in here, so definitely back and forth play, but I would say that Core has been able to slowly claw his advantage bigger and bigger. He now has 8 Zealots. We're just losing 1 right there, but his opponent Socke right now only has 1.
Now, to note, though, you see one of these probes, it's on a follow command.
Oh, no.
Oh, it's been unable to do much of anything. We see another Zealot from Socke hanging out up at the Northland. Socke just, with this one single probe, could have been costing himself so much. Meanwhile, back home, we see that absolutely no additional probe production, messing up on that Chrono Boost timing. Socke, though, being very crisp. That initial assault has dealt a lot of damage, and we see the repositioning by Socke. Pretty much only Zealots from Core, and Socke's mistake being a little too Stalker heavy in these battles needs to match that Stalker count. And oh my gosh, I mean, so many Zealots breaking down the front for Core.
And Socke was trying to micro his way to his own mineral lines, took additional damage there. The relenting attack is not stopping, it looks like, from Core. Units tab is still showing an advantage to Core. I gotta hand it to Socke, though. He has been able to hang on here, keeping the units fairly even without losing a massive amount of probes. Oh, a slight misclick there, although he was able to finish off that Stalker at the cost of 2 Zealots. And again, the units tab is going to show an advantage for our blue player, albeit barely. But, I mean, the positioning right now is going to be fairly strong. This is one of the longer 4 gates I've seen, as it shows you how important micro is right here for both these players.
Oh, Socke now loses the advantage, and there's the good game. Socke has to type out, but I cannot emphasize enough how huge of a deal it was that 1 or 2 of those pros from Socke were just not mining, because if the edge you're going for is having 2 extra probes and playing defensively, those probes have to be mining. Otherwise, you both have equal probe counts, but you just have fewer units. And of course, Core having the correct composition, getting the huge swell of Zealots. In small numbers, you want more Stalkers, but the bigger the numbers get, you need more Zealots.
Yeah, and he used those Zealots. He had a massive Zealot advantage in that first engagement, was able to break that entrance quite easily. The positioning of Socke was really good, but Zealots take a lot of shots as they do not take additional damage from the plus damage against armored units that the Stalkers give. So anyways, a PvP that went on a little bit longer than usual when it's double 4 gates, so we're going to see if both these players in game number 2 do the same.